the mapping is not perfect, and even as I understand it, everyone will admit that the mapping is not perfect. The residents of Saanich are obliged to spend their own money, and based on the stats that I heard, 99.2% shouldn't be spending this money at all, to get a biologist to provide a report to staff, which staff in their wisdom apparently are often not accepting. And I find that to be a fundamental injustice. If we were talking about the criminal justice system, you are innocent until proven guilty. But it appears to me that in Saanich, you are guilty, that is, in the EDPA, until you are proven innocent. Please repeal it. I believe in green along with everything. I've been recycling since 1967. People feel compelled to prove how green they are around here. The point is there's a better way of doing things, and this is not it. Please repeal it, and please let these properties out. Thank you.
Please come forward. Any other members of the public that wish to speak? This is your opportunity.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Peter Rantucci. I'm at 4739 Mountain Avenue. I sent a letter to all of you last night. It was supposed to be 1 page. It ended up 6, and I apologize. It started as a letter to provide you with an appraisal opinion as to the loss that's been estimated on our property, which is 25%, or about $200,000 to my family. That's the lowest of the numbers I had heard. I had real estate agents come on site. I wanted my real estate agent here tonight who sold me the house, but he won't take my calls anymore. That $200,000, I say it's our savings, because when my wife and I bought that property, we had amassed $400,000 in savings over 20 years. The additional $200,000 came from me working my day job till 6 p.m. I'm a public servant. I like to be the last one home on my block. I like the public to know that I'm hardworking. At 6 p.m., I'd have dinner. By 7, I'd start working on our first house. I did that for 3 years. And from that, we made $200,000. And combined $600,000, we walked into 4731 Mountain Avenue with a $220,000 mortgage. Before buying it, because it was such a big investment to us, we did all the due diligence. I have a legal background. I'm fairly good at that. Our agent did that. We went to Saanich even, sat down at the engineering planning counter and wanted to know everything about this property. I was told we had some wood stove permits. I was never told there was an EDPA on this. And I can assure you I would never have bought this property. I can't explain to you how much this has impacted me over the last year, since February of 2015, when we found out. To know that that much of our value has been evaporated is almost unbearable. I can't jump on my trampoline with my son because my head starts to go, and he looks at me and says, "Why do you have a mad face, Dad?" And it's because I'm thinking of this, and I am upset. I work with local governments throughout the province. I was at UBCM with you. I know it's a tough job what you have. But I also know, in working with staff, when we're presenting things to council, whether we're giving them the full information to let them make an unbiased decision, or whether we're giving them information to lead them in a direction. And everything I've seen that was provided to you was to lead you in a direction, and I really don't feel like you had all the facts in front of you. And I don't fault you for that. That's the job of people like me, to give you the full facts, to make an educated business case as to what are the benefits, what are the costs. And what you're hearing today is all of the cost. I can't afford to live in Saanich anymore. I can't afford this loss. I can't afford what's coming with that noxious bylaw that's going to force me to be removing, over 2 acres on my property. A third of our property is under the EDPA. At least half of that is my house, my yard, and my my driveway. In the real estate industry, they're calling this the yellow cloud of death. I didn't make that up. The home below me sold in 2014, exactly the same as mine. EDPA over the house. I phoned the agent, didn't know about it. I sent him to the June workshop. His exact words to me after coming out is, Peter, now that I know about this EDPA, I will never recommend buying one to any of my clients. That's the status we're in. I loved this property when we bought it for 2 years in oblivion, from 2012 to February. I removed evasives when I recognized them. I didn't know many of them. Daphne burned me like you wouldn't believe. Ted Lee came to my property, has told me that less than 10% of my EDPA could be considered an ESA. But he also spent 2 hours with me to show me what to do to take the evasives out. And I would have worked with people like Adrian. We could have created 3-year plans, whatever. I'm about performance, I'm about KPIs. I would have worked with you guys. But now, this property is my enemy. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of us. And I'm asking you for 3 things. One, I do believe it needs to be repealed, to be rebuilt. I do think that places like BC Assessment, they need to have the list of properties. As you know, I'm intending to appeal mine, but BC Assessment does not have this list. If we're going to pursue this, then I should only be paying what my property is worth. And in the third request I'd ask, I would like to be appointed to the Environmental Subcommittee. I bring a lot of value. I have a legal background. I'm good at statutory interpretation. I've been visited those. I see the people struggling with reading the changes in the legislation. I don't know the process for doing that, but that's one of my requests. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Manzucci. Any of the members of the public that wish to speak to this item, please come forward. We've heard from about 18 speakers so far. Some faces in the audience.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Win Wright, and I live at 2929 Seaview Road. I'd just like to mention this evening that I've listened to a lot of people that have had some really tough experiences in dealing with Saanich and their plans for their property. I moved back into the family house after coming back from Vancouver after 27 years. My mother passed away, and I finally managed to acquire the house from the estate. I had a very pleasant experience in dealing with Saanich, in dealing with a renovation that was tricky. They were very helpful, and I think that we worked together and solved certain problems. I never had a problem with, like some of the problems I've heard this evening. I know every inch of my site on Seaview Road from being a kid. I'm still gardening almost on a daily basis. And I know for a fact that there are no sensitive, there's not a sensitive ecosystem. There's no oak tree, there's no native plant. And I kind of would hope that if this bylaw still existed, I would be able to go to a biologist and confirm the fact that there isn't a species of plant that's sensitive. Apparently that's happened, and it's still not worked for the applicants on the subject properties that are under discussion tonight. I'm kind of hoping that the precedent that this sets, if they are to remove their properties from the permitted area because of the biological reports, or for any other reason, that this is going to send a message of hope for those people that, like myself, that are in the EDPA. So I'm just hoping that this goes through, that their properties are removed from from the Atlas, and that there's hope for those of us that feel entitled to have a clean property. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward.
Yeah, I'm going to be very short, to the point. I've heard all the opposition here tonight about the EDPA, and I support it 100%.
Before you begin, may I ask you your name and your address?
My name is Pat McGuire. I'm from 3050 Admirals Road on Portage Inlet.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody here or any of the council, they probably should know that there's a Property Law Act, BC law, and the property rights under the Property Law Act, RSBC 1996, Charter 377-35.1 states that a court may modify or cancel charges, namely a restrictive or other covenant burdening the land or the owner. So I think that really has to happen here. I don't think we're going to get a lot of support from a lot of the council. What really has to happen here is legal action. Yeah. And I think we'll probably, in the end, we'll have to take up a fund from all the people that are getting screwed over and take the council to court. Thank you very much.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Please come forward.
Thank you.
Call for a second time. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. It's good to be here, at least get a voice. My family has owned a property at 3501 Camcrest Place.
Can I get your name and address before you start?
Mount Tolmie. I just had my address. Dan Watson.
Thank you.
And it seems as though they were decent stewards of their property, but now we're cursing them for not pulling out the weeds that started as Gary Oaks when they had the chance. So I don't see how this would promote anyone to want to look after the species of plants that are being named here tonight for fear of this happening elsewhere, even within the EDPA or outside of it. There's very little common sense applied here. I don't think the masterminds that hatched this plan used much common sense when they developed it, otherwise it would have been a little bit more transparent when they did so. And only one other comment. I think if any one person has to pay money out of their own pocket for a biologist to come and determine whether or not the property is in it, that's one too many. So I would like to propose, if you intend to keep this, then Senate should be at least paying the tab for an independent biology firm to come out and assess our properties. But losses cannot be incurred on a personal level to anyone that's paying taxes in this municipality.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward. Seeing no one else, there's a note from the clerk that Mr. Webb has submitted the video. Is it possible to play that? And then we'll conclude the remarks. It's a little hard to hear the volume, I think.
As we are both in our 90s, I'm not sure how much longer we can stay on the property. Unfortunately, the EDPA restrictions will make it difficult to sell the property. This is causing me concern, as we will likely have to sell the property.
Is it possible to pull the wire from the laptop and get it to come out of the speakers into the microphone?
I have owned the property for approximately 65 years.
Could you start the video again, please?
Property, it was covered in blackberries.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody quiet.
I'm not at the meeting tonight because I am at home 7. I am taking advantage of technology and communicating to you through this video tonight. As we are both in our 90s, I am not sure how much longer we can stay on the property. Unfortunately, the EDPA restrictions will make it difficult to sell the property. This is causing me concern, as we will likely have to sell the property to finance our future residential care costs. I have owned the property for approximately 65 years. When we bought the property, it was covered in blackberries and bloom. A fair amount of the native soil had been removed in a good portion of the area, now in the EDPA. I had to import soil to fill many of the holes left from the excavation work, and it is now all lawn and garden. Over 2 years ago, we engaged Senate staff in the EDPA concerns on my property. Since then, after repeated attempts to work within the confines of the bylaw, we have been repeatedly put on hold by staff. They also told us that we should have a registered biologist complete a report at our cost, as the EDPA mapping was just a tool. Using aerial photos that were taken in the 1990s. No site visits were performed by staff to confirm the presence of sensitive ecosystems. The biologist report confirmed that there are no sensitive ecosystems on the property. So after 2 years of work and work, we are right back where we started. Senate staff have neither worked with me to find a compromise, nor have they considered the biologist report that clearly states that there is no sensitive ecosystem on my property. I hope you do the right thing tonight and approve the removal of my property from the EDPA. Thank you for your time.
If there are no members of the public that wish to speak, I'm going to call an end to the public input portion of this item. And I'm going to look to Councillor Platt for a request for a recess, because we've been hearing for 2 hours, and I think we can only use a 5-minute break.
Thank you. I just would like to move that we take a 5 minutes so that everybody in the room can stand, stretch. I know myself, I'd like to use the facilities before I deal with a very serious discussion.
Someone second the motion? Seconded by Councillor Rice. Call the question on that. All in favor? Opposed? We're in recess now for 5 minutes.
John? Don't get a quorum in the washrooms, please.
Alright, let's convene the council meeting. Thank everyone who has stayed. So we'll talk for 2 hours, and it's been a unique meeting for sure in my experience, having just sat in this chair for a short 10 months. We've seen a lot of issues come to council in this time. It's a learning process. For those of us that are new on council, we have to rely on council members that have been here before us, and the ones that are here today that have a lot more experience than us, and we have to rely on all of them in order to make these kinds of decisions. It's time to take this item and put it forward to a decision. And, one of the limitations of my position as chair is that I don't usually have the opportunity to act, and I can only speak afterwards. On the advice of our Chief Administrative Officer, what I would like to do is I'd like to hand the chair over to Councillor Murdoch, and then I would like to put forward the motion myself for the repeal of the bylaw. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any prepared remarks. I've just been listening to the audience speaking, but I would like to mention that I have visited a lot of properties, and I've tried to use an objective lens as best as I can. I am a software engineer by trade. I went to the University of Victoria. I studied another degree of computer engineering, and through that course, I studied a lot of physics, a lot of chemistry, and a lot of other interesting items and disciplines that I actually don't get to apply that much. But I think that through the course of my education, I have been able to keep with me the scientific method and the principles of understanding by using what we see with our eyes. But sometimes we can't always see things. There are a lot of visibles in our world that requires instruments and requires preventative precautionary principle. What I've heard tonight is that, Mr. Chair, do we need someone to second the motion? You want to introduce it first?
If you want to make the motion, then I'll look for a seconder.
Okay. So I'd like to move that Saanich undertake the normal process for the repeal of this bylaw.
Is there a seconder?
Yes, I will second. Good.
Seconded by Councilor.
What we are looking at, a large number of these properties and the percentages that were given earlier, is a lot of lawn and garden with not a lot of sensitive ecosystems in place. I have to look to the cost of hiring experts, that is the burden of the property owners,